Hello everyone, and welcome back to imchronicallywriting. I know a lot of you use these videos to sleep, so before you drift off, I thought it would be a fun idea for everyone to leave a comment saying where you're listening from in the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying these episodes. I also post these stories on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you prefer to listen to these stories while driving. You can find those links in the description. But now, it's time. Go ahead and wind down, dim your lights, and slip inside your bed so we begin tonight's stories. Day 1. The cough started as a whisper, a tiny annoyance I brushed off as nothing. I was in my office, going through patient records as usual. The clinic was quiet today, a rare reprieve from the steady stream of worried faces and desperate voices. I took a sip of coffee, trying to focus on the file before me, but the nagging tickle in my throat demanded attention. I cleared it once, twice, but it lingered, persistent and unsettling. The day wore on, and the cough grew louder, harsher. By evening, it felt as though something was lodged in my throat, something I couldn't clear. My chest tightened with each breath. I convinced myself it was just a cold, nothing more. But as a doctor, I knew better than to dismiss symptoms so easily. Day 3. The cough had worsened overnight. I woke up gasping, my chest heaving with each ragged breath. The tightness had spread, a vice squeezing my lungs, making every inhalation a struggle. I looked in the mirror, my reflection pale and drawn, dark circles framing bloodshot eyes. I took my temperature, no fever. A good sign, I told myself, but the unease gnawed at me. At the clinic, I kept to myself, avoiding close contact with patients and colleagues. The irony was not lost on me, a doctor, the very person meant to heal, not a potential carrier of something insidious. The thought made my skin crawl. I could feel it inside me, something dark and malignant, spreading with every breath and every cough. Day 5. I couldn't ignore it any longer. The cough had become unbearable, a constant, hacking rasp that tore at my throat and chest. My breathing was shallow, labored, each inhale a painful struggle. I sat in my office, my hands trembling as I dialed the number for a colleague, a pulmonologist I trusted. I need a scan, I told him, my voice hoarse and weak. Something's wrong. The appointment was set for the next morning. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Cancer, tuberculosis, something else, something new, something we hadn't discovered yet. My thoughts spiraled, feeding the growing panic inside me. Day 6. The waiting room was cold, sterile. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, adding to my growing sense of unease. My colleague greeted me with a concerned look, ushering me into the exam room. The scan was quick, the machine whirring as it captured images of my chest. I tried to stay calm, to keep the rising tide of fear at bay, but it was no use. I could feel it now, the sickness clawing its way through my body, corrupting every cell it touched. After what felt like an eternity, he returned, his face grave. He held up the scans, pointing to the images of my lungs. "There's nothing there," he said slowly. "Your lungs are clear." I stared at the images, my mind unable to process his words. But the cough, the pain, it's real. I can feel it. He frowned, his brow furrowed in concern. It could be stress, anxiety. You've been under a lot of pressure lately. I nodded numbly, but his words felt hollow, meaningless. This was more than stress, more than anxiety. I could feel it, growing stronger every day. Day 8. The cough persisted, relentless. My colleague prescribed medication for anxiety, but it didn't work. The tightness in my chest worsened, spreading to my limbs. My hands shook uncontrollably, my muscles ached, and my heart raced as if it were trying to escape my chest. I stopped going to the clinic, isolating myself at home. The fear of spreading whatever this was consumed me, kept me locked away in the suffocating silence of my own thoughts. My mind began to turn against me, each symptom magnified, twisted into something monstrous. I saw shadows lurking in the corners of my visions, heard whispers in the silence. The walls of my apartment seemed to close in on me, trapping me with the sickness that was eating me alive. Day 10. The nights were the worst. The nights were the worst. The darkness brought with it a suffocating dread, a certainty that I would not survive until the morning. I lay in bed, grasping for breath, feeling the sickness crawl beneath my skin, burrow it into my bones. My mind conjured horrors in the shadows, visions of my body consumed from within, hollowed out by something I couldn't see, couldn't fight. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping. The cough was all that remained, a ragged, desperate sound that echoed through the empty rooms. My reflection in the mirror wasn't recognizable, a gaunt, hollowed-eyed ghost of the man I once was. The sickness had taken over everything from me, left me a shell, consumed by fear. Day 12. I couldn't take it anymore. The isolation, the fear, the unrelenting terror of what was happening to me. It was too much. I stumbled into the bathroom, my body weak, trembling. I looked at myself in the mirror one last time, at the stranger staring back at me with wild, desperate eyes. This has to end, I whispered to the empty room. My hand shook as I reached for the pills, the ones meant to calm my mind, to ease my anxiety. I poured them into my palm, more than I should, but it didn't matter. Nothing mattered anymore. I swallowed them all, the bitterness coating my throat, mixing with the ever-present taste of blood from the relentless coughing. I crawled into bed, my heart racing, pounding in my ears. The darkness crept in, but this time I welcomed it. I closed my eyes, hoping for peace, for silence, for an end to the sickness within. As the last of my consciousness slipped away, I thought I heard a voice, a whisper in the darkness. It was never real, it said, only your mind. But by then, it was too late. June 1st, 2024. It started with the plants. It's hard to explain, but it's as though they're watching me. Every leaf, every petal seems to twist towards me when I'm not looking. At first, I thought it was just my imagination. Plants don't move on their own, at least not like that. But now, I'm not too sure. My therapist says it's stress. She thinks I've been working too hard. Maybe she's right. I've been pushing myself with this new job, but the plants, they're not normal. June 3rd, 2024. I woke up this morning and found a vine wrapped around my leg in my bed. It wasn't there last night. I'm certain of it. I tried to pull it off, but it clung to the wood, digging like claws. The thing felt warm to the touch, almost alive. When I finally got it off, it left scratches behind. The wood was gouged, like something with talons had been there. I told myself it was just an overgrown houseplant, but deep down, I know that's a lie. June 25th, 2024. The plants are growing faster. I've lived in this apartment for 5 years. My little indoor garden has always been manageable, but now the ivy climbs the walls like it's on a mission. The ferns spread out, leaves curling towards me when I walk by. Yesterday, I saw something odd. One of the flowers, a lily I've had for months, seemed to twitch as I reached for it. I froze, hand hovering in midair. The petals, delicate and white, slowly opened wider, as if in anticipation. I backed away, my breath quickened, and for a moment, I swore I heard a faint rustling, like whispers coming from the leaves. June 7th, 2024. I can't stay here no more. The plants are everywhere, covering the walls, and creeping across the floor. I woke up last night to find vines wrapped around my wrist, tightening like shackles. I screamed and thrashed until they snapped, leaving welts on my skin. The air is thick with the scent of flowers, overpowering and suffocating. It clings to my clothes, my hair. I can taste it on my tongue, a sickly sweet bitterness that makes me gag. They are my dreams now too. I see them growing, creeping closer, their roots digging into my flesh, feeding on me. I wake up drenched in sweat, the sheets tangled around me like vines. June 8th, 2024. I went to stay with my sister. I thought getting out of the apartment would help, but the feeling followed me. Her garden, she's always loved gardening, felt hostile, like it was waiting for me. When I stepped outside, the grass seemed to bristle under my feet. The flowers turned towards me, their petals opened wide as though they were hungry. I stumbled back inside, locking the door behind me. My sister thinks I'm crazy. Maybe I am. But the plants, they know, and they're waiting. June 10th, 2024. I went back to the apartment. I had to. My sister was getting worried, talking about sending me to a hospital. I couldn't let her do that. They'd lock me up, and I'd be helpless when the plants came for me. But the apartment, it's worse than I imagined. The plants have taken over completely. Vines hanging from the ceiling, twisting into grotesque shapes. The air is thick with spores, floating like tiny motes of dust. It's hard to breathe, my throat closing up as I inhale the tainted air. I heard them whispering my name. July 11th, 2024. They're coming for me. I can feel it. The plants are closing in, their roots sneaking across the floor, reaching for me. I tried to cut them, to rip them out, but they grow back faster than I can destroy them. I can't escape. The doors won't open. The vines are wrapped around the handle, holding it shut. The windows are covered, ivy thick as a wall of green. I'm trapped. The plants are all around me, their whispers growing louder, filling my head with their voices. They want something from me. They need something. I don't know how much longer I can fight them. My skin is crawling, the sensation of roots burrowing beneath, feeding on me from within. I see them when I close my eyes, twisting through my veins, spreading through my body like a disease. June 12th, 2024. I think I'm becoming one of them. My skin, it's changing. There are green patches, small at first, but spreading. It's like the plants are growing through me, turning me into one of their own. I can feel them inside me now, the roots digging deeper, entwining with my bones. My body is no longer my own. I'm being consumed, taken over by the plants. I can't fight it no more. They're too strong, and I'm too weak. I'm becoming part of the garden. The police found her body today. The apartment was a jungle, overgrown with plants that had taken over everything. Her body was entwined in the vines, her skin green and rough like bark. The plants had grown through her, using her as soil, a host for their roots. The coroner's report said it was unlike anything they'd ever seen, but I know the truth. The plants had claimed her, and they'll claim others. They're still growing, still spreading, and they're waiting for someone new to take root. It was a gray, rainy afternoon when Emily received the package. She wasn't expecting anything, but the box had her name on it, neatly written in black ink. There was no return address. Curious, Emily opened it. Inside was a small, ornate mirror, framed with intricate designs that seemed to twist and curl into strange shapes. The glass was smooth, reflecting her face with unsettling clarity. She had never seen anything like it. As she held the mirror, she noticed something strange. Tiny, almost imperceptible holes in the design of the frame. They were small, but the sight of them sent a shiver down her spine. The holes were irregular, as though something had burrowed into the wood. The longer she stared at them, the more they seemed to shift and move, as if the holes were growing, expanding into something far darker. Emily quickly put the mirror down, her hands trembling. She tried to shake off the feeling of dread that had settled in her chest, but it clung to her like a cold mist. She left the mirror on the table and retreated to the comfort of her bedroom, hoping to escape the gnawing anxiety that had suddenly taken hold of her. That night, she dreamed of holes, endless, spiraling holes that opened up beneath her feet, swallowing her whole. She could feel herself falling, the darkness around her pressing in, suffocating her, and in the darkness she sensed something lurking, watching her from the depths. She woke in the cold sweat, her heart pounding. The dream had been so vivid, so real, that she could still feel the sensation of falling, the oppressive weight of the void. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself, but the feeling of dread wouldn't go away. The mirror was still on the table, and she glanced at it. She saw something that made her blood run cold. The holes in the frame had grown larger, more pronounced, and they seemed to pulse with a dark energy. The wood around them had begun to rot, as though the holes were eating away at the material, consuming it from the inside. Emily felt a wave of nausea wash over her. She wanted to throw the mirror away, to get rid of it, but something stopped her. It was as if the mirror held a strange hypnotic power over her, drawing her in despite her fear. Over the next few days, the holes continued to grow. They spread across the frame like a disease, and Emily could swear she heard faint, whispering voices coming from them. She began to see the holes everywhere, in the walls of her apartment, in the cracks of the sidewalk, even in her own skin. Tiny pinpricks of darkness that seemed to be eating away at her very being. Her nights were plagued by nightmares, and during the day, she found it harder and harder to distinguish between reality and the hallucinations that tormented her. The holes were everywhere, surrounding her, closing in on her. She felt as she was being consumed by them, as if they were devouring her soul, piece by piece. One evening, unable to bear it any longer, Emily decided to confront her fear. She took the mirror and smashed it against the wall, shattering the glass into 1,000 pieces. But instead of relief, she felt only a deeper sense of dread. The broken fragments seemed to pulse with some dark energy, and as she stared at them, she realized that the holes had not been destroyed, they had merely multiplied. Desperate, Emily clawed at her skin, trying to rid herself of the feeling that the holes were inside of her, growing and festering. She could feel them beneath her flesh, wriggling like worms, eating away at her from within. The pain was unbearable, but she couldn't stop. She had to get them out. When they found her, she was huddled in the corner of her apartment, her body covered in deep, self-inflicting wounds. The doctor said she had suffered a psychotic break, brought on by her phobia. But Emily knew the truth. The holes had consumed her. They had taken root in her mind, in her soul, and no matter how much she tried to escape them, they would always be there, waiting to drag her into the abyss. August 2nd, 2024. The rash started small, just a tiny red spot on my forearm. I brushed it off, thinking it was just a bug bite, but by the next morning, it had spread. Little bumps, red and angry, running up to my elbow. I've always been prone to worrying, but this was different. I felt like something was crawling under my skin, trying to get out. I called in sick to work. There was no way I could sit at my desk with this, whatever it was. I spent the day searching online for answers. Every website, every forum told me the same thing. It could be anything, an allergic reaction, stress, even a viral infection. The uncertainty gnawed at me more than the itch itself. August 3rd, 2024. It's worse. The rash had spread to my neck and chest. I tried anesthesias, creams, even ice packs. Nothing helps. The itching is unbearable, but what scares me most is the burning sensation beneath my skin. It's as if something is alive in there, feeding on me. I went to the doctor. He took one look at me and said it was probably just a skin condition, something harmless, something treatable. He prescribed me some cream and sent me on my way, but I saw the look in his eyes. He was hiding something. I know he was. August 4th, 2024. The cream did nothing. The rash is everywhere now. It's like my skin is being devoured from the inside out. I can barely sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see things crawling, burrowing, and tearing through my flesh. I'm losing my mind. I can't tell what's real anymore. I went back to the doctor, but he refused to see me. The receptionist said he wasn't available, but I could hear him in the back, talking to someone. They know what's happening to me. They just don't want to tell me. August 5th, 2024. My skin is splitting open. I can see the raw, red tissue beneath. The itching has turned into searing pain. I can't stop scratching, even though I know I'm making it worse. I can't leave the house. I don't want anyone to see me like this. I tried calling my mom, but she didn't pick up. I tried calling my friends, but they're all too busy. Or maybe they know. Maybe they all have been warned to stay away from me. A walking disease. A contagion. August 6, 2024. I've sealed the windows and doors. I can't let anyone see what I've become. The mirror shows a monster. My face is unrecognizable, swollen and disfigured. The rash has consumed me. It's inside me, eating me alive. I can feel it in my veins, in my bones. I've stopped eating. The thought of food makes me nauseous. My body is shutting down. I can feel it, slowly but surely. I'm dying, and no one cares. August 7th, 2024. I can't write much. The pain is too tense. I'm feverish, delirious. I hear voices whispering in the walls, telling me to tear it out, to dig deep and pull the infection from my flesh. They're right. It's the only way. August 8th, 2024. I did it. I tore it out. The thing that was inside me, the thing that was killing me, it's gone now, but I'm not better. The voices were wrong. They lied. I'm bleeding. So much blood. I can't stop it. I'm so cold. I can barely move. I'm fading. Maybe this is what they wanted all along. Maybe this was the cure. Police report, August 9th, 2024. The body of, name redacted, was found in the apartment, deceased from self-inflicted wounds. The apartment was in disarray, with signs of extreme paranoia and delusion. A journal found at the scene detailed the victim's descent into madness, fueled by an imagined illness. There was no sign of an actual disease. The victim's death has been ruled a suicide. August 15th, 2024. The smell was faint at first, just a whisper in the air, barely noticeable. I remember catching it as I walked past the old bakery on Elm Street, a sweet, rotting scent like overripe fruit left long in the sun. I thought it was just the trash bins out back, nothing unusual, but it lingered, clinging to me like a shadow. The scent followed me home. I scrubbed my hands, changed my clothes, even opened the windows to let in fresh air, but it stayed, growing stronger, more insistent. The sweetness turned sickly, making my stomach churn. I lit every candle I had, but no matter what I did, the smell wouldn't go away. August 16th, 2024. It's not just in my apartment anymore. I smelled it at work today, drifting in through the vents in my office. No one else seemed to notice. I asked Sandra, the receptionist, if she could smell it, but she gave me a strange look. "You're imagining things," she said with a nervous laugh. But I'm not imagining it. I can smell it now, even as I write this. It's in my hair, on my skin, in my lungs. It's as if it's inside me, a part of me. I can't escape it. I went back to the bakery today, just to see. The smell was stronger there, more intense. I asked the owner, Miss Whitmore, if she had noticed anything unusual, but she shook her head. "Everything's fine, dear," she said, smiling with her yellow teeth. "You must be stressed. Take a break." Stress? Maybe. But why can't I get rid of the smell? August 17th, 2024. It's driving me insane. I can barely sleep. The scent invades my dreams, turning them sour and twisted. I dripped of rotting fruit, maggots crawling through decaying flesh, the sweetness turning to putrid decay. I woke up gagging, my throat burning with bile. I stopped eating. The smells taints everything I try to swallow. Water tastes like rancid milk, bread like moldy cheese. I'm losing weight, and my hands tremble when I try to write. I don't know how much longer I can take this. August 18th, 2024. The smell has changed again. It's not just sweet and rotten anymore. There's something metallic, something sharp and cold underneath. It's like blood, fresh and sticky, mingling with the decay. I smelt it everywhere now, in the streets, in the grocery store, even on other people. I'm starting to think it's following me, that it's trying to tell me something. I can't talk to anyone about it. They think I'm crazy, but maybe I am. August 19th, 2024. I went to the doctor today. I couldn't stand it any longer. I tried to explain the smell, how it's been haunting me, But Dr. Mason just frowned and nodded, like I was just some kind of experiment. He ran tests, poked and prodded, but he didn't find anything. It's all in your head, he said. Phantom smells, probably caused by anxiety. Anxiety? That's what they always say when they can't explain something. But I know it's real. I can feel it in my bones, my gut. The smell is getting worse, more overpowering, like it's building to something. August 20th, 2024. I can't breathe. The smell is suffocating me, filling my lungs with its sickening sweetness. I tried everything. Showers, perfumes, air fresheners, but nothing's working. It's like the smell is a part of me now, woven into the very fabric of my being. I haven't left my apartment in 2 days. I can't face the outside world, not with this smell following me, clinging to me. I blocked the windows, sealed the doors, but it's still there, choking me with its rancid breath. I'm scared. I don't know what's happening to me. I feel like I'm losing my mind. August 21st, 2024. I understand now. The smell was never about the bakery or the trash or the vents at work. It's about me. It's inside me, rotting me from the inside out. I've been decaying all along, and the smell was just a warning, a harbinger of what's to come. I can see it now. My skin is pale and clammy, my eyes sunken and dull. The smell is the strongest around my chest, where my heart is. I think it's dying, and the smell is my body's way of telling me. I don't have much time left. I'm not afraid anymore. The smell is all that's left of me now, and soon it'll be all that remains. August 22nd, 2024. The smell has become me. There's nothing else left. No fear, no pain, just the overwhelming, all-consuming scent. I can barely see, barely think. I am the rot, the decay, the sweet sickening stench of death. I am the smell, and soon I will be gone.